Hello. I wanted to talk more about my experiences here in France. I had an article that is still up on CNN in the travel section. It's still in the editor's picks, and today is Saturday, September 6th. It was published on August 28th, and it's about my move to France. So hello everybody. So I wanted to talk about the article. I did not have everything that I had mentioned. There was a focus to the article, and there are some things I wanted to add. I have about 8 things that were not discussed in the article that I would like to just bring up and talk about, and I have it here on my laptop, so I'm going to be looking over here for a little bit while I talk. I hope you don't mind. I'm not like a professional here, so I'm taking it as I can and see what I can make out of this. So thank you for watching, and if you're interested in what Marseille is about and what my experience moving to France has been like for the past coming upon a year, watch this video. So what I wanted to say about moving overseas is that, and it's been said by other people doing these kinds of moves, wherever you go, there you are. So you have to know yourself, or you should know yourself, and your problems are going to follow you if you have problems. There's no escaping that. For me, I knew that I wanted to continue having experiences and adventures, and my later life, the first half of my life, was doing what other people wanted of me, and then I consciously worked very hard to get rid of that bubble that I was in, because it's really a perception of your life and how you think of yourself, and it's pretty much based upon all the input that you've been getting up till that point. If you don't like self-examine, you're really just a conglomeration of what people tell you you are, and it really necessitated in me a need to break out and be free, in all ways, come what may. And in the US, we're so run by money as the value, and everything else takes a back seat to it, that it's hard to be free when everybody values you for what you can do in society versus being a human being. So me being a producer as a competent lawyer who was making money and stuff, that was highly valued. So when I broke out of that, because money didn't make me happy, and I had to finally square with the fact that I, relative to, people, peers, not my peers, because they were other lawyers, but people and family, and just people that, if I look back at where I came from and stuff, I was doing really well, like really well, yet I was lonely and unhappy, and I wasn't feeling like I was making any choices in my life. So I first, as a person, had to learn how to unlearn a lot of things, and learned helplessness is one of the things that I think a lot of people have, and that is one of the things I had to come to terms with. And for me, the only way to break out of it was to, even though you have doubt, you're insecure. I was, for a lawyer, I was so insecure. I had no sense of my self-worth or my self-esteem, because I didn't know how to even build my own character. So once I started stepping out of that and doing things then your brain starts starts making new pathways, and it's like, I can do this, I can feel confident, I can like do something I've never done before. And if I put one foot in front of the other, it does take faith, which I don't mean in the religious sense, I mean more in the overall spiritual sense, and even the notion that the universe is a more benevolent place than one is taught, where if one is taught in a fear-based manner. I had to coach myself to say, you know, I'm not going to fall through a crack in the earth, and I'm going to be able to figure things out. Literally to the point where I was like, I must have a brain, because I became a lawyer at the age of 23 when most people are still in college. But I had to talk to myself in these kinds of terms, which is wild when you think about it. So you have to know yourself. And I knew, because I've had adventures, and maybe I'll get the chance to talk about the things I did in my years as a working person. I've had a number of careers. But I knew, I had been all over the US, and I knew there was a big piece of the future that I haven't had, which is to see a lot of the world. And not that I want to be a huge traveler, but I needed to be inspired to be doing other things than just staying in the US and doing what I knew. I was in the Bay Area. I was so I had done everything there. So to just retire in the US, and then everybody's working, or if they're not working, they're just puttering at home. But to get people to come together and go out and enjoy life stuff, it's just not really valued. Or if you do it, it costs you at least a couple $100 if you want to go have dinner and drinks and maybe some activity. It's so ultra expensive. And then you're not even guaranteed that you're going to feel like it was worth that amount of money. But just getting people to loosen up their schedules to meet, because it's such a rat race, on top of many other factors, leisure time just fully taking a back seat to anything that's not work related. And I include myself in this. I just looked at my potential retirement in the US as a total dead end, because I didn't want to sit at home. And I don't have a huge nest egg, because when I left law, there was another 25 years of me doing stuff that did not make me a lot of money. So while my Social Security is nice, my nest egg is not. And that was my trade-off, to learn about myself. I could not be taking job offers that were the highest paying. I was doing things instead to get a backbone, get some character, and I got all that in spades. But there was a trade-off. A trade-off for me, well worth it, because now I really like myself. Well, that's been quite a few years now, but it took making that trade-off, and it was the best thing I ever did. I wouldn't trade it for the world. But now what that meant was, in the US, I didn't have like, $1 million home and all this stuff that I could have had I stayed in law. There's a saying, some people don't believe it, but I believe it. You are what you do. And I was doing law every day and becoming more and more miserable. I didn't like the work. I love learning the law. The practice to me was drudgery. I could not handle it and be a happy person. And I was living for the weekend. And then because you're so miserable mentally, I'm working all week, but then the weekend comes and then you don't want to do anything, because you have to just recuperate from the week that you had. And how many years are you going to do that for? So anyway, I knew I needed to, I don't know how many years I have left, but I feel like I have hopefully 20. I'm 66. that's 1/3, about, well, not quite, of your life that you're going to spend, waiting for people to loosen up their schedules if they can, or like get a bunch of animals and just be somewhere in the US. And I didn't want to live in Podunk, USA. I've lived in Colorado, I've lived in California, New York. I've lived in the places that have inspired me, but now I can go visit them again. I don't need to just be sitting somewhere where you have to get in a car to go do anything. And if you're out in the country, then there's nothing. So many things about it were just I could not see myself in that situation without wanting to just lose it. So that's when I knew I would become an expat, and that already started for me in my late 50s. I was trying to figure out, what do I want to do when I retire? So on from there, I came to France knowing that it would be difficult. I had French in high school and college, but I hadn't had it since. And I have to tell you, even though I was a pretty damn diligent student, I have not been diligent about this, and it just may be in my older years I've lost the drive to really be that disciplined person and stuff. But this is the one thing that I will be focusing on, because when you move to another country, that's another thing to really pay attention to. I was initially considering Portugal before they just blew up their visa program a few years ago. I would never have wanted to learn Portuguese. It looks so hard. And then coming to France and then going, wait a minute, I had this language already. I know I can learn it. And I'm already seeing how I'm picking up phrases and stuff. So just by being immersed, and I'm making sure that I'm watching movies in French and stuff like this. But to move to another country where you'll never learn the language, I feel like is a huge mistake. So in that way, I'm so happy that I recognized France was the place for me. And again, going to Malaysia or any whatever expat area, even learning Spanish, I don't feel like I'm motivated to learn Spanish, but I am motivated to learn French. I feel like that should be a top priority for people who are looking to move overseas, is to want to learn the language, because you will always feel like an outsider. And unless you're not really interested in making it your home, being an outsider is okay. But I don't have any intention of moving back to the US, so I do not want to feel like a forever outsider for the next 20 years. And I'm going to end this one here because I don't want things to go on too long. I will return again and discuss in future videos more things that I wish I could tell you about, that I will tell you about, that were not in the article, in the CNN travel article. And thank you for watching, and I'll see you next time.